So if smartphones are so advanced in 2026, then why are airports, railways, construction sites, security firms, and logistics operators still using
fantastic two-way radios?
So today we're going to dig into a little bit more about why two-way radios are so prevalent in the year 2026. So let's set the tone a little bit. So smartphones are so powerful because they give you the ability to talk one-to-one. You can download apps, you can access the internet, you can do all these wonderful things with them. But this isn't about whether phones are useful. This is about what differentiates a two-way radio and makes it still part of so many important things that we do today, so many important businesses. So I guess the question is, are these devices competing or are they solving different problems? So I'm here with Richard Monson today, again the founder of Maxi Solutions. I'm Jack Monson, I'm one of the directors at this company, and today we are looking into exactly what we've just spoken about. Why are mobile phones and two-way radios solving different problems in this day and age? So Dad, I'm going to ask you, what differentiates this from that?
I would always look at these as being a business tool, fundamentally designed for business. Those can be used for so many different things, but they're more of a consumer-based product. Whilst they have their business uses, they also have lots of associated differences.
Absolutely. So effectively they are designed for personal communication. So it's consumer communication. They have a dial-based contact function, completely dependent on public infrastructure, which I think is a really important thing in this day and age. And ultimately multi-purpose, multi-function. So it does many, many things very well. Whilst a radio does a more limited number of things, but again, exceptionally well. So what is a radio built for? It's built for operational excellence.
Critical communications, it's built for a business task. It has a unique feature, which is it can speak to many people very, very quickly. Interesting point I always find is that they say a mobile telephone call, the average is between 2 and 5 minutes, a telephone call, whereas the average radio call can go from 3 seconds to 20, 30 seconds. And if used properly, people think before they speak and they pass important information across very, very quickly. There's not the thought, the mindset to talk about your weekend for 5 minutes before you effectively get on with the job. You are passing a message across.
Yeah.
They're more brash and abrupt in that relation.
Exactly. So it's a dedicated device for infrastructure, communication, and again, it's built for that operational coordination, which is what separates it, a big part of what separates it. So I think it's fitting that we do a bit of a demo here. So I'm going to pass you back that. Now, I want you to try and get in contact with someone on your contacts list who, let's hope, is going to pick up the phone.
Call to a normal telephone.
Hello, Rich.
Oh, hi there. Right, we're just doing a test actually. We're doing a test between mobile phones and two-way radio. So thanks for that. Just ignore that. I'll see you later. Okay, so there's the mobile phone. Right, mobile radio, call to another mobile radio. Hello, Jack. This is Rich. Radio Tech Other.
Bang. Instant.
Instantaneous.
Yeah. Versus upwards of 30 seconds, I would say, for that whole dialing process.
And then, of course, the problem is when I got my telephone up, I've got some WhatsApps have come in, some email and some other things, and then I'm off on a tangent if I'm not careful. So, yeah,
absolutely.
Interesting little demo.
Yeah, I think that was a perfect demo of the capabilities of each.
And that could be broadcast to 10, 15, 20, however many people you got on your channel. So it's a very rapid way of getting hold of lots of people rather than, can you imagine if you were having to phone 15 people to say there's a problem?
Yeah.
Then that takes a long time.
One of the key technologies that we've been pursuing in recent years is push-to-talk over cellular devices. And maybe you can give us a summary of what that does.
We always were looking for bigger communicator or much wider area of communications coverage, and that's obviously the limiting factor usually with two-way radio. But when push to talk over cellular came, and we were able to introduce our Pronto Express, which utilises the data network but gives you instant communications on a professional device. So it's very similar radio to the radios we've just shown. And literally you push the button and you could speak to someone in Mexico. It doesn't matter where they are as long as they've got site coverage. And that's a very powerful piece of equipment. And it brings the two together really in a way.
Yeah.
Pronto Express is something we'll do something on, isn't it?
Yeah, and we touched upon it in our previous episode as well.
Yeah, a real live demonstration was taking place. Of some units we had, we will offer demonstration units to, and it was a security company, and they were going over the moors in just north of Manchester, and there was an accident, and they couldn't get through. I think we mentioned it in the last one. They couldn't get through on the phone, on a mobile telephone, but they got through on the radio back to their control, and were able to alert the emergency services. So that was just brilliant. Yeah, it was a really great example of push to talk over cellular and our Pronto Express.
Exactly. And versus mobile phones, I think it's fair to say that two-way radio, the communication, the system for it and the products themselves, they haven't come all too far outside of the switch from analog to digital in relatively recent years. From, back on the Titanic, for example, something we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Other than being hand portable and all the rest of things, they are quite similar. However, mobile phones have come a long way in that regard as well. But if cellular networks were launched decades ago, other than what we've mentioned, then why didn't radios become obsolete? Obviously, mobile, we've talked about it already, but it being public infrastructure, it's a shared bandwidth. There's a risk of congestion. And there's also additional charge, carrier fees and the like for that.
Very often these networks are used, or we are asked for systems to back up, say, a large organisation, purely and simply because they know that in a critical situation, something like 7/7 or 9/11 in the States, I guess, what will happen is the networks will be switched to a higher mode effectively, and or normal communications across the cellular networks will not be possible because they'll be kept for emergency services, secret service, whatever, depending on what's happened. And of course that cuts people out in normal companies, and effectively they're left without communication. So to have a backup system, something that you can run yourselves that is autonomous to you, is really vital to get people organised, because that's when you're going to really need good communications. So that's why bigger companies, or lots of companies, will want to opt for their own network that they can manage, they can monitor, and that they've got control of.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important point. The frequencies, frequency spectrum obviously is shared, but it is managed by Ofcom, and it should be that you can use your frequencies within your area. The spectrum is managed by Ofcom so that you're able to do that. So again, you're paying for a license, but in paying for that license, Ofcom should be managing it and making sure it's not too congested within your area.
Yeah. And again, going back to that same point, they're also designed for group coordination. You just don't get the same level of group coordination with something like a mobile phone.
One to individuals, one to duplicates. You can have groups set up if you want, or you can have the best system is like an open user group network where one to everyone. Then everyone's on an operation channel, something happens, that you can speak to everyone instantaneously.
Yeah. So I guess the key insight to draw from all of that is that radios haven't been replaced because they solve a different operational problem to what a mobile phone does. And I think that is the real key point to it all. Another thing that I think is worth mentioning when it comes to this debate, mobile phones versus radio, is operations within remote and complicated environments. So this might involve stuff like some of the projects that we've been involved in like installing leaky feeder systems.
Yeah.
So we had to install a leaky feeder system in a cave network.
Yeah.
And that was one of the more complex challenges we faced. But what did it allow for? Well, it allowed for two-way radio to operate without any hindrances, without any barriers within that sort of environment. And is there anything you can add to sort of, densely populated or city sort of focused environments?
I think you've got control of your system, so you can design it with a company like us, and we can make that coverage area, or we can design that coverage area according to your needs.
Yeah.
Mobile phone networks won't put in a cell site if you're in the remote area, obviously, because it needs mass and a good reason to do that. So, again, you've got control of the area of coverage you wish to have.
Yeah, yeah.
And by bolting on different things, connecting them together by Ethernet or whatever, you can pretty much design what you want. It just depends on what your needs.
Yeah, and in areas where you get cellular dead zones, we're based in the United Kingdom and England, and quite often you'll go to the countryside and there'll just be no signal. And so in an area such as that, you can have a VHF system, might be more fitting for a countryside environment, where you might have a repeater if you're covering a lot of ground as well, and you'll have no dead spots. You'll have none of the same issues that you might have, mast dependency or any congestion on public networks as well. Obviously unlikely in a rural environment, but
I mean, we can provide cellular boosters now. It's one of the things we do as a solutions-based company, but fundamentally, you need to have some sort of coverage to be able to boost it.
Yeah.
As opposed to radio.
So if the signal doesn't exist, you can't put one of those in.
Exactly. Yeah.
So in remote environments, radio systems are their own ecosystem, and phones, they borrow the infrastructure from somewhere else. So that's very prevalent and worth mentioning.
One of the things, what you're saying now is it's a business tool. So you can, it's not, dare I say, it's not sexy like a mobile phone is, but this thing is very robust. It's not as attractive to steal because it works on a network, and you can adapt it. You can make it your own by putting earpieces in, throat microphones. You can put it into large noise cancelling headsets. You can Bluetooth it to things. You can really you can personalise it as you wish, which, it's not as easy. I suppose a mobile phone you can, but it's just not. It's in the business environment. It's not designed really for that sort of robustness. The standard one, isn't it?
And I feel like a lot of what you're saying goes into the kind of optics debate. So if someone, say a security firm, is having an issue with whatever named issue, a security risk, safety risk, or whatever, to one of the sites that they're covering, and they whip out a mobile phone to contact someone, it looks highly unprofessional. It looks consumer focused. It doesn't have that professional allure as what you're saying. Whereas if someone is strapped up with nice level of apparel, they have a belt clip with the radio attached, or an earpiece, or something that they can dial into their radio network with, it just gives that professional allure, that professional look and feel, and it demands a level of authority that is in keeping with security companies or construction or professional businesses. And that's really important, something that you definitely don't get.
Well, how does it look if someone's about to attack me and I start dialing up and saying, I'm just about to be hit over the head with something? How does that work in comparison while they're ringing, rather than help, I need help, I'm at such and such? It's a no-brainer, is it?
It is an absolute no-brainer. Exactly. So, radios, they very much integrate into the uniform. They integrate into the outfit of the security company, of the construction company, of the professional business that wants to have that professional demeanour.
Sorry, interrupted.
No, fine. Whereas the phones sit in pockets.
Yeah, and I think also it's a deterrent. because you see that level of professionalism. Oh, he's got a radio.
Yeah.
You know, where we've done shop watch schemes and nighttime working in the nighttime economy, having a radio on the side is something that's telling, you know, the bad guys,
Yeah.
they're obviously in touch. That's, you know, you don't really get that with a mobile phone.
No, absolutely not. So another thing from a sort of security and control perspective is that the radios, they demand that added level of security over a mobile phone, for example. So say you're running all your professional business communications through a mobile phone, you are making yourself susceptible to security risk, aren't you? So, you know, there's the risk these days of stuff like cyber attacks. If you're hosting all of your communications on a phone, there is that level of risk. Whereas if you have an Ofcom professionally licensed radio, you don't have that same risk. People might be able to tap into your communications, but in doing so, they would be alerting themselves to the authorities.
Yeah, and digital radios are more secure than
the encryption.
analog radios, you know. So, and there are, we can up the level of encryption. There's, you know, up to secret basically with options that are available from various companies. So yeah, there's no problem with that.
Yeah. Another thing that's worth mentioning is, you know, cost and infrastructure as well. If you want to kit out 15 staff, we're all with brand new mobile phones, iPhone 17 Pro Maxes or whatever. I mean, you'd be sort of quite amiss in doing that. But if you did decide to do that, it's going to cost you upwards of £1,400 per device. One thing about two-way radio is generally upfront, much cheaper option.
Yeah, and once you paid for it, the running costs are very, very low on the license, really. So
absolutely, yeah. So you would pay for the license, but you don't pay for any of the carrier fees or the cellular charges or any of that. So, or a monthly contract or a data plan and all the rest of it. So it's about infrastructure cost over time. It's another thing that truly differentiates the radios as well. So I think we've covered quite a lot of ground here in terms of the comparison between the two devices, and they each have their own functionality is what we're saying. We're not poo-pooing one or the other. We're saying they both have their own need and requirement in certain situations. As a wrap-up, we can sort of conclude that mobile phones are excellent from a personal communication perspective, from an application perspective, from a versatility perspective as well. They can do that many things. We can't sit here and say no, that they're absent of any meaning or any utility, because that's, you know, completely false. However, two-way radios are professional, business, and mission-critical tools, and so fundamentally, they have different design function. They've got different level of reliability expectations as well, and ultimately, the infrastructure that goes into them is different.
yeah, the other thing I would add as well is that mobile telephones are more susceptible to abuse within organisations. And you might find that you do have to have someone managing or looking at the accounts to see how many phone calls have been made. And it was always a thing that used to happen in the past. But you know, there is an element of management of those invoices to make sure, you know, Auntie Agatha from Sydney's not getting far too many calls from Stephen on the security site at night. You know, it is something that has come up in the past.
Yeah, naughty Auntie Agatha.
Well, I don't know how naughty she is. It's Stephen that's been naughty.
Yeah. Sorry, naughty Stephen, I should have said. Innocent Auntie Agatha.
And then we've got one more thing to say. You guys have got to stay tuned, because if you want to see how robust these are against how robust these are, then we're going to do mobile phone again and mobile radio, the robustness test against a 20-bore shotgun. Who's going to win? Stay tuned.
Stay tuned to find out indeed. I guess to sort of wrap up and to close, if your operation depends on instant communication, then having a bespoke radio system set up around your site needs, your requirements, and everything else is going to be fundamental. If you just have an jobs system where you just have a personal WhatsApp, the phones might be for you. But if you're looking for expanding and growing business and professional communication, it's two-way radio for you.
And if you're not sure, come and try them. Talk to us and, try some radios out. See how you get on. Usually no one wants to let go of them when they've had them. So
Yeah. And I've seen that firsthand. So I guess us being the experts, if anyone who's watching this right now has any questions, please be sure to leave something in the comments.
Yeah.
We can address that and get back to you, and hopefully we'll have a valuable answer for you. In other words, do all the regular things. I know you like to do this part.
If you like the video, click down there.
Click down and to subscribe for more of this similar content, and not to miss us testing the durability of two-way radio versus mobile phones.
iPhone, mobile radio. Who's going to win? 20-bore shotgun, 40 yards.
We look forward to that. So thank you very much for
Thank
watching,
you.
and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Is additional accessories. So stuff like...
Why are you laughing? I don't see what's funny about that.
just the way...
Accessories.
Just the way you kind of went...
I'm sort of picking the script up as you go along.